Welcome to the Stochastic MLB DFS Strategy Show. I'm your host, Neil Orfield. You can find me on Twitter at PlayerQDFS. I'm here with Adam Scherer. You can find him on Twitter at ShipMyMoneyDFS. And this show is sponsored by SoRare MLB, which is a digital trading card and NFT-based free-to-play MLB game. We'll talk about SoRare a little bit more later on. While you're coming in, please do like the video, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, and hit that notification button so you can get alerts when our shows go live. Adam, how was your weekend?
It was good. Didn't win anything DFS wise, but hung out, dog sat for my sister on Saturday. Went to the O's game yesterday, so it was nice to get out, do a couple different things. Had a good weekend.
And the O's won, if I recall correctly.
Yeah, they did. And Gunnar Henderson hit the longest Utah Street home run in Camden Yards history.
Damn, really?
Yeah, one hop the warehouse.
Okay, that's impressive. So he's
462 feet.
I saw you posted something about like you made a prediction right about like maybe his closing line value on winning Rookie of the Year has improved or something.
Yeah, I had said like a couple weeks ago that I thought because he had dropped to like 20-1 as you know in Rookie of the Year odds because of his kind of slow start to the season. But even during that slow start, he was still not hitting the ball soft. He was walking a ton. Like it was pretty obvious he was going to turn things around and seems to be doing it.
Yep. Nice. That's awesome to hear. I see that we've already started talking about Freddie Peralta. Sean V was on Twitter yesterday telling me about Josh's Freddie Peralta pick going wrong. And as I said on Twitter, I'm going to be more interested in seeing like what other great players did. I just literally, as I was like 30 seconds before the show started, I decided to pull it up and take a look at what some of the sharper players did with Freddie Peralta so we can get an idea of whether he actually was a sharp play or not. Sean was telling me, well, it's not a sharp play. I suspected because Josh played him that other sharp players would as well. And looking up here, Freddie Peralta came in at 40% owned. Baranosaurus Flex 62%, the Colts 55%, FJ Bourne 49%. We had one outlier, Brick 75 just played 26% of Freddie Peralta, BK Ryder 56%, and I just pulled up Josh 80%. Do you think that Freddie Peralta was a sharp play yesterday, Adam?
I think I had like 40 to 50% also. Yeah, I mean Sean V's thing is to just say that players are going to fail in a sport where they fail a high percentage of the time and then act like he knows what he's talking about.
It's a good bit to just like continue to predict that players are going to fail, or like I'm going to make 10 predictions of players who are not going to win the MVP next NBA season, right. And I'm going to look so sharp. All right, we don't need to continue on talking about this Freddie Peralta pick. I just, in general, I'm going to pay more attention to what players are doing who have won a lot of money playing DFS. I'm going to care more about what they're doing. That's, I think, the best way to look at whether a play was a good play or not, rather than just retrospectively saying he didn't do well, so he was a bad play. All right, let's jump in. We have 7 games to talk about here, Adam, starting with, of course, the Rockies at the Red Sox. Connor Seabold on the mound for the Rockies, James Paxton for the Red Sox. What's your level of interest in these pitchers?
Definitely interested in Paxton here. You have a really good matchup against Colorado. Terrible offense outside of Coors. Not that Fenway is a bad park to hit in, but it's certainly not Coors Field. So Paxton's going to look good. We have seen the velocity return for him. Strikeouts have been there so far this season. Striking out 33% of hitters, only walking 8%, 3.43 xFIP. He's been solid and now has a really good matchup. We have him projected to be the highest top 2. He has the highest top 2 pitcher percentage. He is projected for the most ownership at 55%, but I think it's fully warranted at 9,300 in this spot. Seabold, much less interesting to get to. He's cheap at 5,400, but you have an implied run total north of 6 for Boston in Fenway. Seabold, not a good strikeout pitcher, tough matchup. So definitely interested in Paxton, not interested in Seabold.
Okay. What about the bats in this game?
Yeah, the Red Sox bats look really good. 6.2 implied run total, like I said. Massive total going up against Seabold, who so far this season only striking out about 15% of hitters, 5.89 xFIP, obviously really, really bad. So it looks good for the Red Sox bats. They are coming in at the I have the top pitcher stool up twice. So I think they're at the top of the top stack stool. I'm pulling that up now, but clearly a very good spot against Seabold. Yep. You said they are. Yeah. Yep. 15% chance of being the top stack, 14% projected ownership, also an 8% chance of being the top value. So it's not even like they're that expensive. You have some expensive bats, Yoshida, Devers, Duvall, but the rest of the lineup pretty inexpensive as well.
Yeah, looks like a good spot. And as Stephen Liu has pointed out, this is one of our weather spots, really the only weather spot to have any concern about right now, but I'm not really concerned about the weather in Boston. I don't think it's a huge cancellation risk. All right. How would you rank the 4 sides of the game?
Paxton 1, Red Sox 2, Rockies 3, Seabold 4.
All right. Second game on this 7-game slate is San Francisco at St. Louis. Logan Webb on the mound for the Giants. Matthew Liberatore on the mound for the Cards. Any interest in these pitchers?
A little bit in Webb. He's pulling 22.5% ownership, 22.5% chance of being a top 2 pitcher. Not the best strikeout matchup against St. Louis. Not the easiest spot in general. Their active roster this year against right-handed pitching does have a 110 WRC plus. They've only struck out 20.5% of the time, but you just have a solid pitcher in Webb. It's only a 7-game slate, as you mentioned. So 25.5% strikeout percentage for Webb this year is good, better than usual for him. Still only walking 5% of hitters, 3 flat xFIP. Just a good pitcher. Does get out of San Francisco, which isn't ideal, but St. Louis, as we talked about the other day, also a pitcher's park. It's only 72 degrees there, so pretty solid pitching weather as well. 10-3 for Webb is a pretty expensive price tag, so that will keep his ownership in check a bit. You're paying $1,000 more for him than for Paxton, but if you can afford him, still looks pretty good. Liberatore getting 10% ownership, 10% chance of being a top 2 pitcher. He is cheap at 6,400. Not the best matchup going up against San Francisco. They're probably going to have a very right-handed heavy lineup. Their active roster has a 109 WRC plus against left-handed pitching this year. They have struck out 24% of the time, though. So there is some upside for Liberatore if you need to pay down for pitching, but not somebody I'm going out of my way to get to.
So since you just brought it up, and I actually was just looking at this again this morning, the park factor for St. Louis, I noticed that it's over the past 3 years using a rolling average. It's very much a pitcher's park. But then if you just look at this year, for some reason, it's number 4 overall in terms of park factor on Baseball Savant. Do you think did they make any changes to the stadium that you know of? Or do you think that's just kind of a small sample size thing?
Probably a small sample size thing. I don't think they made changes.
Okay. Yeah, I'm not aware of any. That stood out to me because that was one of the games I was looking at. And I was like, holy shit, that changed a lot. If you look at the rolling 3-year average versus just this year. This year it has been somehow it's been a little bit more of a batter's park, but probably just a small
across
sample
the
size.
board. It's been hitter friendly.
Right. With that in mind, how much interest do you have in the bats in this game?
A little bit of interest in San Francisco. You are getting a well-regarded young pitcher in Liberatore, but hasn't been great at the major league level so far. San Francisco 6th in top stack percentage, 7%, pulling 8% ownership. So I do have some interest there. Not particularly interested in the Cardinals going up against a very good pitcher in Webb.
Okay. And how would you rank the 4 sides of the game?
Webb, Giants, Liberatore, Cardinals.
And Steven also saying, with regards to the Red Sox game, the risk is Paxton having to sit in a rain delay, but odds are it will be okay. Yeah, it is. I agree. Worth paying attention to. We'll see if there's closer to game time, if they're projecting rain like in the 3rd inning or something, then yeah, might want to factor that in. More of a risk than the bats there. All right. 3rd game on this slate, we have Los Angeles at Texas. Tyler Anderson on the mound for the Angels. Dane Dunning for the Rangers. What's your level of interest in these pitchers?
So Dunning is pulling 9% ownership, 9% chance of being a top 2 pitcher. You do get some strikeouts in the Angels lineup, but also a pretty dangerous lineup. Obviously, really, really dangerous hitters in Ohtani and Trout. You have plenty of power elsewhere in the lineup as well. So pretty similar, I think, to Liberatore, where I'm not going out of my way to get to Dunning, but he is cheap enough if you need to pay down at SP2. It does make, it makes some sense. Tyler Anderson pulling 3% ownership at 6,800. Brutal matchup against Texas. Not particularly interested in getting there.
All right. How about the bats?
Both teams look, kind of middle of the road. We have Texas 2nd from the bottom in top stack percentage. That seems a little bit low to me just based, on how good this offense is. Angels coming in 4th in top stack percentage at 10% against Dunning. So far this year, Anderson has allowed, going back to 2019. So far this year, Anderson's allowed a 171 expected ISO to righties, 360 expected WOBA. It's going to make Marcus Semien look good. He is expensive, but he's going to look good. Adolis Garcia, Josh Young, Mitch Garver. You have plenty of right-handed power in this lineup for Texas. And, I don't think that you necessarily shy away from the lefties because of how good they are. But Anderson has been very good against left-handed hitters, but still a 5.2 implied run total for Texas. So I do like getting there. On the other side for the Angels, going up against Dunning, 227 expected ISO to righties this year, sub 100 to lefties. Going back to last year, 132 expected ISO to lefties, 172 to righties. Always going to be happy to get to Ohtani, Trout. You have, a cheap Taylor Ward, a cheap Anthony Rendon. Pretty decent value stack here for the Angels.
All right, and then how would you rank the four sides of the game?
Texas, Angels, Dunning, Anderson.
Perfect. All right, so we have made it through 3 of 7 games. Perfect time to take a look at lineup generator. Let's take a look at what's coming up in the MLB lineup generator so far today. And I'm going to first off go to we're just gonna look at DraftKings here. I'm going to be doing a VOD later. If you're interested in checking out what comes up on FanDuel, I will be doing a lineup generator VOD this afternoon as well. So if you're interested, check that out. I'm going to do all stack types here. And Adam, we had a $15,000 winner on, I think, Friday. Scott Tarnett came in and said that he won $15,000 using lineup generator. That is awesome to see for a product that's so young. I've seen so many people having success with it already. But Scott, if you're on Twitter, give us a shout out on Twitter. Try to join the Stochastic Hall of Fame there. I don't know what contest you're in if it's eligible, but we love to see people winning with these tools. So I don't know if you have a Twitter, but if you do, we'd love to see what lineup you got on Twitter, which lineup won $15,000 for you. But Scott, the reason that I brought it up is Scott said that he used all lineups because I know that it was on a day on, I think it was Friday, where Spencer Strider was, the chalkiest play at pitcher. I'm assuming that Scott won without Spencer Strider. Again, I'd love to see what the lineup was, but the only way that you would have gotten to much Spencer Strider at all, I think, was if you were playing contrarian lineups. Scott said that he used the all lineups here instead of choosing just one of chalky, balance, or contrarian. He went with all lineups. And I've been thinking about changing my approach here. We've been doing balance lineups, and like when I started doing the VODs, I would just go straight to balance lineups and I'd say, okay, I want to get rid of some of this player or this player. But you can get, I think that generally my approach going forward might be just to do all lineups because I think that I'm more likely to get a more diverse set of lineups, which for me, for my risk tolerance, I think I prefer getting a diverse set of lineups. What do you think of that approach of just starting with all lineups rather than starting with, one of these 3 buckets, just because you'll get a more diverse set?
Yeah, I actually didn't realize there was an all lineups tab there. That's the way I would do it. In general, when you're using something like this, whether it's the lineup generator, whether you're doing stuff in Fantasy Cruncher, I try and just set as few rules as I can because I just want it to give me what it is creating as the best lineups.
Yep. I agree. So I think that we'll go with the all lineups choice here. And yeah, as you said, we just want the best lineups out here. And of course, we know every lineup that you're going to get in lineup generator is going to be a plus EV lineup, regardless of which bucket you're in. But still, I as you said, just kind of like to let the tools do their thing. I don't want to put a ton of restrictions on them. Just remember, I need to throw that link into chat. If you haven't already signed up for lineup generator, if you use the link that I'm putting in chat right now, you'll get it for 50% off for your first week. So it's just $4.48 for your first week. Check it out if you haven't already. Again, every lineup is going to be plus EV in the Stochastic Sims. Not going to lock in any pitchers here, Adam. Just take a look at what they give us. First lineup we get here looks like it is a 5-0. No, it's a 5-3. No, yes, it is a 5-0 stack. So it's 5 Rays. We happen to get 2 Red Sox bats. That's not forced in there. And then one off with Tyro Estrada here. Nobody getting, I guess Christian Betancourt is at 6% projected ownership. Everybody else has double-digit ownership among the bats, but then just 5% ownership for Tommy Henry. 56% for James Paxton. That is a lot of ownership going there. As Stephen Leibowitz said, pay attention to the weather there because, yeah, if you can get under the field and there is, some kind of a rain delay, that would be quite helpful. Looks like a good lineup to me, Adam. What do you think? This is probably a balanced lineup on this slate. I'm not sure exactly.
Yeah, it seems it. The ownership doesn't appear problematic. Outside of Paxton, the highest owned guy really at 19%. But yeah, we have Tampa Bay third in top stack percentage. So getting to a high upside stack there. We already talked about really liking the Red Sox as well. They're first in top stack percentage. So you're getting a lineup that is likely, as likely to succeed basically as you're going to get in terms of hitters. Paxton, obviously the best pitching play on the slate. And then, Henry at low ownership at a cheap price tag. You're not going to feel great about Henry. He's not a great pitcher, but he is cheap. He is low owned, so no real issues there.
Yep. And a little bit of added correlation here with James Paxton with the 2 Red Sox bats. Doesn't hurt either. Looks like a good lineup. I'll save that one. Now we get a full Red Sox stack here, or I guess a 4-4 stack Red Sox and Giants. The second lineup we look at, you offset some of the Red Sox ownership, which really not even that ridiculously high. Offset it with some low owned Giants bats here. Still get Paxton and Henry as the pitchers. Looks good once again. I'm just going to go through and save 20 lineups. So we can take a look at what happens after you get through your first 20 set. And yeah, as expected, I mean, we're still getting to relatively high ownership on, Christian Arroyo, Rafael Devers, Connor Wong, etc. 60% James Paxton, though, the highest that we have of anybody. I think that is kind of the benefit of doing the all lineups rather than just choosing one bucket. Is we don't have anybody who we're getting to 100% of, or like 80% of bats, which you can see sometimes in certain buckets. So I think that this is probably the best approach that Scott used there to look at all lineups here. If you saw these 20 lineups, Adam, what do you think your approach would be here? Do you think you would just go with these 20 lineups, or do you think you would go back and maybe get rid of some Red Sox, try and spread out your exposure? How do you think you'd approach it?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's kind of a risk tolerance thing. Like I've said it before that in general, hitters, having hitters north of 30% can be problematic just because of how often they're going to fail. But I don't, hate the idea of just kind of being in 20 lineups, being heavy on the Red Sox. Like if you were playing 150, you're probably getting lower, exposure to the Red Sox hitters. You're going to start mixing in other lineups. But yeah, I think the exposures here look pretty good. The one thing that stands out is that Henry's pulling that we're getting 35% Henry. But if you look at the top pitcher stool, it makes sense based on, how we have him projected. We have him with a 15% chance of being a top 2 pitcher and only 5% ownership. So, using that data, it's going to push him up as a really good play.
Okay. Yeah, agreed. That's looks good to me. We could even it out a little bit more, but not necessary here. All right, I think that's a good enough look at the lineup generator. Again, every lineup you're going to get is going to be plus EV, just $4.48 for your first week. I put the link in the chat. Check it out if you haven't already. All right, let's get back to this slide. And also, I see people talking about downswings in chat. 5 or 6 day downswing. That's nothing, man. Even the best players in the world go on 5, 6, much longer downswings than 5 or 6 days at a time. Normal. Right. That's just part of DFS. If you're playing these large field GPPs, you're going to have big downswings like that. I'd stick it out. If you have access to the stochastic sims tool, you can see if your lineups are supposed to be plus EV according to the sims. That's helpful maybe in terms of like checking yourself, seeing like, am I actually making good lineups and just running bad/neutral, to be honest, or am I playing poorly? So check that out if you have access to the sims tool.
Paying attention to like your top 1% finishes is a pretty good
Roto Tracker. Aiden Elston asks, what does plus EV mean? It means estimated value. So over the long term, it means that plus EV means that over the long term, if we ran the slate 10,000 times over the long term, you would expect to win money with a certain lineup, is all that it means. Because, day to day, there's just a ton of luck involved. Like everybody knows that in DFS, day to day, there's luck involved. That's true of the best players. Nobody has a crystal ball. Nobody can predict the future. But day to day, there's a ton of luck involved. Over the long term, though, you see certain players rise to the top, win consistently, not even consistently, but like win money over the long term. So plus EV just means you should expect to win money. All right. TB the broker, what's up, Neil? They let me out of the institution finally. I'm free. That's awesome. I'm glad to hear that you're out of the institution. All right, let's move on to the fourth game of the slate, Adam, which is Cincinnati at Kansas City. We've got Luke Weaver on the mound for the Reds, Zach Greinke for the Royals. What's your level of interest in these pitchers?
Not particularly high. I mean, Zach Greinke is pretty bad. Luke Weaver is okay. I'd get to Weaver first. We have him 5th in top 2 pitcher percentage at 17%, 70% projected ownership for Weaver. Reasonable price tag at $7,500. Weak Kansas City team so far this year against right-handed pitching. Second from the bottom in WRC plus, only better than Detroit, 25.7% K percentage. So Weaver is a pretty solid, SP2. Obviously, you're preferring to get to some other guys ahead of him, but everybody ahead of him in top 2 pitcher percentage is at least $9,300. So where you are saving some money at SP2, Weaver looks like the top, value option or pay down option. Greinke 7K. The Reds not a great offense, but not terrible. 97 WRC plus, 22.5% strikeout percentage. Greinke coming into the game though, only striking out 18% of hitters, 4 flat xFIP. He's actually been better than expected this year, but still not a great option from a DFS standpoint.
Okay. Do you have interest in these bats in, facing older Zach Greinke here for the Reds? What's your level of interest in the bats in this game?
Yeah, I mean, the Reds look decent. I'm a little surprised they're coming in second in top stack percentage right now. I would expect that to come down as the day goes on. Like they have a 4.3 implied run total. We've talked about, Texas with a 5.2 implied run total. we have them lower than Cincinnati right now. So I don't totally get that. I don't think they're, as good a stack as the top stack still suggesting right now, but still don't mind getting to them. You still have, Ellie De La Cruz at 4,300, still a very reasonable price tag on him. Not free like he was, but still tons and tons of upside. You have, just young, talented hitters in this lineup. Not a great park though, and it's only like 70 degrees. So not great hitting conditions. I think the Reds are sort of just a secondary stack, but De La Cruz individually looks really good. On the other side, I'm not that interested in KC. Obviously, if you're getting to the guys at the top, I don't mind that. Prado's 3,100, Melendez is only 3K. So there is some value here, but tough park to hit in, mediocre matchup against Weaver. Not that interested.
Okay. And Red Skittle says, I'd rather floss my taint with barbed wire than roster Weaver. Do you agree with that?
Yeah, not a bad take.
All right. How would you rank the four sides of this game?
Weaver 1, Reds 2, mostly De La Cruz. Kansas City 3, Greinke 4.
Okay. And TB clarified that he just means he got the day off work. That's awesome. Congrats for having the day off of work. All right. And somebody else who was it? Bryant Judge asked, how do you buy so rare cards? I'll show you. Not right this second. We'll go through one more game. Stick around though. After this game, I will jump into so rare, show you how you can buy cards on so rare. All right. One more game though we'll get through, which is Tampa at Oakland. We've got Zach Eflin on the mound for the Rays, James Caprillion for Oakland. What's your level of interest in these pitchers, Adam?
Yeah, I mean, good spot for Eflin. Good pitcher's park, terrible offense. Plenty of strikeouts here. Oakland's active roster, 24.9% K percentage against righties this year, 95 WRC plus. Eflin's just going to look good. He is expensive at 11K, but assuming you can find the salary for him, happy to get to him. 23% top two pitcher percentage is third on the slate. 22% ownership is third on the slate. So looks like a good play if you can afford him. On the other side, Caprillion, one of the worst starting pitchers in baseball, and he's now going up against one of the best offenses in baseball. So 5,200, really cheap. I am surprised we have him getting 8% ownership. That seems high, but he is $5,200, but not really looking to get to him.
Okay. I got distracted by chat. What is your level of interest in the bats here? Oh, wait, did you say James Caprillion has 80% projected ownership?
8.
Oh, 8. Okay. I was very confused. I was like, who is getting 80%? Okay. That makes sense then. What's your level of interest in these bats in this Tampa Oakland game?
Really interested in the Tampa Bay side. We saw them showing up in the lineup generator a bit. Caprillion so far this season, 256 expected ISO to lefties, 131 to righties, only striking out lefties at a 14% clip as well. Wander Franco, Josh Lowe, Luke Raley, all going to look good from the left side. And then obviously, going to Yandy Diaz, Randy Rosarena, even though they're right-handed, you're still going to get there. So Tampa Bay looks good. Not particularly interested in Oakland against a very good pitcher in Eflin.
Okay, and then how would you rank the four sides of the game?
Tampa Bay 1, Eflin 2, Caprillion 3, A's 3, Caprillion 4.
Okay.
I think you could flip Tampa Bay and Eflin 1, 2. It doesn't really matter. And then I think you can flip the A's and Caprillion 3, 4. It doesn't really matter.
Yeah. Really interesting conversation about actual performance versus projection.
It's not interesting. He doesn't know what he's talking about.
I mean, well, like obviously, yes. Like the most important thing is the actual points that are scored. Like you don't win money based on projection, but like the point is nobody can like predict exactly how many points somebody's going to score. So like that's just what is even the point of what you're saying? Like it's just projection is how you determine, how you guess the best way of trying to guess who's going to put up big scores. Yeah, I agree. Not an interesting conversation. With love, Jake, I don't really see the point of that argument. Like in terms of like deciding whether something was a sharp play, the projection means a lot more than what the actual performance turned out. Typically, I would say. All right. We were asked, how can you buy cards on SoRare? So let me take a look at that. And first, I looked up Ellie De La Cruz cards because I was curious. There's apparently only one Ellie De La Cruz card currently being sold on SoRare. It is a super rare card though. So that's not the contest that I'm playing. Thought that was interesting though. Adam, this past week I missed cashing in my SoRare lineup by 0.23 fantasy points after Brandon Bielak put up just 7 points in his start. So that was another brutal, just so close to cashing kind of week. So we were asked, how can you buy cards? And here I'll go play upcoming. So these are just the contests you can play. If you are interested in buying cards, you just go to market, and there's multiple ways to buy them. I typically go to manager sales. That's where you can like find individual cards that you want to buy. So let's see, for example, if I want to buy a Ronald Acuna limited card, I'd go click off this limited box, throw Ronald Acuna into the search bar. He's going to pop up. And Ronald Acuna, of course, one of the most expensive that you can buy here. But now you have your option of different Ronald Acuna cards. You can find every card that is currently for sale in the buy it now market here. But then there's other ways to buy. You can also buy starter packs where you're just going to get 5 cards. Oh, they're sold out. Never mind. Never seen that. And then new card auctions, which is where people can, rather than just selling it for a buy it now price, you can auction off cards on Sorare as well. So there's a lot of different options. Probably better deals to be had here in the auctions. I always just go to manager sales because it's more efficient. I can just get what I want right away. I don't have to wait for an auction to end. But this is probably actually the better way. Verlander going for $8 here. That might be a good buy there. So yeah, those are the different ways. You just go to market. These 3 different ways are how you buy cards if you want to buy the limited cards. You can also get free cards though. If you have not yet signed up for Sorare, let me throw a link into the description to show you where you can sign up for Sorare. But when you sign up for Sorare, you're going to get a bunch of free common cards that you can enter into contests right away, into those common contests. So, free cards that you can win real prizes with that are actually worth money that you can sell on the secondary market. Check it out if you haven't already. I was going to make one more point there and I forgot what it was. So you don't just get like a bunch of cards, you get a salary cap and choices from different cards. So you're kind of starting the game right away when you start in the common contest. It's a lot of fun. And of course, the next slate starts today. So check it out if you haven't already. If you just want to dip your toes in, you can start with those common cards that you're going to get for free. It's a lot of fun. Check it out. All right. Back to the slate, Adam. We have just 2 games left, starting with Philadelphia at Arizona. We've got Matthew Strahm on the mound for the Phillies, Tommy Henry for the Diamondbacks. What's your level of interest in these pitchers?
I think Henry's okay in tournaments. I am a little surprised, like kind of like I mentioned earlier, a little surprised that we have him projected as well as we do. 15% chance of being a top 2 pitcher seems kind of high, but only getting 5% ownership. So at the very least, as a contrarian play in tournaments, I don't mind it. Dangerous spot though. 5 implied run total for the Phillies. Henry's not a great pitcher by any stretch. 15% strikeout percentage this year, 10% walk percentage, 5.6 xFIP. He's not good, but he is cheap. You are, like we said earlier, we are getting some ownership coming into Caprillion at 5,200. So it kind of just that tells you that you sort of need cheap pitching in some lineup builds. So if you are paying down, Henry seems as good as anything. But certainly not excited to get there. Not interested in Strahm in nearly 8K against the Diamondbacks.
Okay. And Jake says, projections overperform and underperform every slate. I just want to be clear, like projections are not predictions. That's something that I think people like mistake all the time. They think, oh, that's the projection, so that is what his expected score is. That's just the median. No, is it the median? I think it's the mean of his range of outcomes in general is going to be the projection. So it's not really a prediction. It's just like, this is where approximately like the mid-range of where you would expect this player's performances to land. And it's a good gauge of like, is this play a good play? Like based on his salary, what can we expect from this player? His kind of like median range of his middling range of outcomes. But it's not really a prediction. Anyway, did you rank the 4 sides of this game?
No, and
Okay.
Bert Bondi's right in chat. You're going to get Dylan Covey as the bulk reliever. He's cheap. He's not good. It's still a pretty good spot for Arizona. So I think it's Arizona 1. We didn't talk about the offenses really specifically, but Arizona right now coming in 5th in top stack percentage. The Phillies are coming in 4th from the bottom, but still 4%, which is not that far off most of the stacks today. So some interest in the offenses, more so in Arizona against what's mostly going to be Dylan Covey. So I would say Arizona 1, Phillies 2, Henry 3, Covey 4.
Adam, people have been asking for the link to where they can buy your hat online.
I don't remember where I bought it.
Yeah, I was going to say, you're probably not. It's like that. I think there was a Seinfeld episode where it was like somebody asked another woman where she bought her shirt, and she was like, I'm not going to tell you. I want to be the only one to have this shirt. I assumed that was going to be Adam's response. He doesn't want you having his Orioles hat. That's an Adam Oriole hat, right?
Yeah,
Is that what you actually mean?
Yeah, so I just Google Baltimore Orioles batting practice hat. It looks like you can get it at Lids. I'm sure you can get it other places.
Nice. Okay. Easy enough to find. All right. We only have one more game to get through. So if you guys have any questions, anything you want to talk about, throw them at us because we're going to have some time. Final game of the slate, Adam. Miami at Seattle. Got Jesus Luzardo on the mound for the Marlins. Bryce Miller for the Mariners. Any interest in these pitchers?
Some interest in Miller at 10K. You know, he is expensive, but it's a pretty solid matchup against Miami. Their active roster only has a 91 WRC plus against right-handed pitching this year. They have only struck out 20.8% of the time. Part of that is skewed by Luis Ariz, who just never strikes out. But you know, overall, a pretty solid spot for Miller. 3.7 implied run total for the Marlins. We have Miller getting 6% ownership, which is really interesting, given that other guys in that price range are getting 20+%. I don't think he's like a 4-to-1 dog to somebody like Zach Eflin or Logan Webb, who are a little bit more expensive and getting a lot more ownership. So as a tournament play, if that ownership holds, I'm certainly interested in Miller. On the other side, not particularly somewhat interested in Luzardo. Like, he's a good strikeout pitcher. It's a good park. The matchup's kind of scary, but he's only 9,600. So I guess I don't mind getting there. We have him actually second in top 2 pitcher percentage at 26%, 36% ownership. So in that Paxton price range, I do prefer Paxton, but you do get good strikeout upside from Luzardo. He struck out 28% of hitters this year, 3.64 xFIP. Good pitcher's park, as I mentioned. So dangerous in that you do have a lot of good right-handed bats here. But so far this year, Luzardo has struck out 26% of righties. He has had some power issues with a 192 expected ISO and a 210 actual ISO, but this is a park that kills power, so that's good for him too.
Okay. Adam Perry says it was Jake Jarmel in Seinfeld. Didn't want anyone to have the same glasses. Yes, I can vaguely, I don't remember Jake Jarmel. Like, I can't picture what he looks like, but now that you say that, that does sound familiar. He also says, but yes, Elaine did get kicked out of box seats at Yankee Stadium for wearing an Orioles cap. I assume that part's a joke. I don't remember that happening. Do you know if that actually happened, Adam?
I remember the Yankees game wearing the Orioles hat. I don't remember.
Oh, it is a real thing. Okay. Yeah, I did not remember that.
I think she got like tickets from her boss or something and wore an Orioles hat.
Okay. Nice. Good show. I haven't watched Seinfeld in a decade at least. Like, it's been a while. I think I watched every episode way back when, but
I watched every episode within the last couple of years because I had never gotten into it, never really liked it, and then finally, like the 3rd or 4th time I tried, it grew on me.
Okay. You ever watch Curb Your Enthusiasm?
Not a lot. That's another one that I need to like. I occasionally go start it over. It hasn't grown on me yet, but
me too. I know that I should love it. Like, people who love the same humor as me tend to love Curb Your Enthusiasm. I know I should love it, and I just I kind of chuckle at it sometimes. Sometimes I'll watch individual clips that people post. I'm like, that is kind of funny, but like, it just doesn't quite hold my attention that I can like binge it. But maybe one day. What I did binge this weekend. Have you ever seen the Netflix show Beef, Adam?
No, I haven't. I did see you tweet about it though.
Yeah, and Eric responded. He said that he got through it in 2 days. I also got it through it in 1 weekend. I think just a really, really great show. Pretty funny, pretty interesting. Check it out.
I just watched the Arnold Schwarzenegger show, Fubar, and then now I'm watching The Night Agent on Netflix.
I haven't seen either of those. Would you recommend them?
Yeah, I mean, they're good for what they are, like just sort of entertainment. They're not like mind-blowing shows or anything.
I think that you have said this, that you are, and it sounds just like me, where you are easily entertained. Is that accurate? Yeah. So I like most shows. Like, I'm not usually that down on shows. The worst thing I'll say is like, yeah, I didn't really get into it. But like, when I say that about Curb Your Enthusiasm, I don't mean that I think it's a bad show. It just means like it has not grabbed my attention enough yet. NBA prop question. Tyler Herro is supposed to suit. I think Tyler Herro was ruled out already, wasn't he?
He was just upgraded to questionable.
Oh, okay. Interesting. I
Which
thought I'd seen him.
Still isn't that he's supposed to play. He's just questionable. But.
Yeah. Who would that affect in the Miami rotation? Do you know off the top of Caleb Martin or?
Yeah, it's like Martin, Vincent. Probably. That's probably.
I think that's a good enough response. Red Skittles, hot take: Seinfeld is low level humor. I think that's a fair take, to be honest. Like, it's not like super deep most of the time. You disagree?
Kind of. I feel like that's one of the reasons that it took me so long to get into it. Is it's sort of like a lot of the jokes you sort of have to like think about, and if you're not paying attention, you kind of miss them.
Okay. Yeah. I will say the Jerry Seinfeld stand-up parts are just like awful. Like he just the stand-up parts never like that they start the shows with. Are there any that are maybe I'm misremembering, but I don't remember those being good at all. It's like people really watch for this stand-up. People go to these shows.
Right. Yeah. There were some that I would think were funny, but that's kind of the thing for me. And like I know that this is one where like I know that I'm wrong, but I don't find Jerry Seinfeld that funny, and I don't find Larry David that funny.
I don't find I sometimes find Larry David pretty funny. I don't find Jerry Seinfeld that funny either. So I'm with you there.
Yeah, and it's like I 100% am aware that that's just the wrong take, but
I mean, is it even King Fabian says Seinfeld is one of the most successful TV shows in history, yet you bash it. I mean, the most successful TV shows in history doesn't mean it was good. People love like The Big Bang Theory. That's not a good TV show. That's a stupid TV show, but people love that shit.
yeah, but it's also not nearly as successful as Seinfeld.
True. Yeah, I'm not bad. I love sci-fi. I watched every episode. Adam, maybe he's not talking to us. You and I both watched every episode, like enjoyed Seinfeld. But Jerry Seinfeld himself, yeah, I've never really found him to be all that funny. All right. Bats in this Miami-Seattle game. Any interest there?
Not really. Two good pitchers, tough park to hit in. Yeah, not a lot of interest in the bats. Seattle is middle of the pack with a 5.5% top stack percentage. Miami is also right next to them, but I'm kind of surprised at how high their top stack percentages are, honestly, and I don't think I'll get to much.
All right. And how would you rank the four sides of the game?
Luzardo, Miller, and again, pay attention to that Miller ownership. Right now, 5% just seems really low. But Luzardo, Miller, Mariners, Marlins. Okay. Mariners, doesn't really matter.
King Fabian says, you're wrong. What TV shows have you produced? You can't even shave your beard correctly. First of all, what are we even like? Neither of us even insulted Seinfeld, the TV show.
Yeah, I'm super confused.
And also, my beard is immaculate. I don't know what you're talking about. I am actually due for a trim. As I was telling Adam before the show, Adam just got his haircut nicely done over this weekend. I've been due to do my own recently, but that's just I don't even know what you're calling us wrong about. We're not having any hot takes here about Seinfeld. Just doesn't do it for me. The comedy at the open mic, whatever you call it, stand up parts don't do it for me on Seinfeld.
And yes, Stephen Leibowitz, Anthony Jeselnik is funnier than Seinfeld.
Yeah, easily. I mean, most stand up, and not most. There are many stand up comedians who I find a lot funnier than Jerry Seinfeld.
Yeah. Right. Andy Meltman said to give Curb a shot. I've tried like 3 or 4 times, and I just end up stopping.
Yeah, me too. I mean, I might have made it through one season once. I think that I could get into it eventually over time. I like some like skits that I've seen from it, but just it hasn't been enough to like really hold my attention to where I'm binging it. Like Beef this weekend. I started it. I was like, got me hooked. I watched the entire season in one weekend. Like it hasn't been that kind of
like I assume like in 10 years I'll have finally decided I like Curb, but
right. All right. We made it through every game on the slate, Adam. If you were going to go to 3 stacks in a 3 max contest, which 3 stacks would you go to?
Give me Boston, Tampa, and Arizona.
All right. 3 favorite pitchers.
Paxton, Luzardo. I do like Bryce Miller as a contrarian play. But Paxton, Luzardo, Weaver, I guess. Weaver just because I wanted to mention somebody cheap.
All right. And home run pick.
This is kind of a weird slate. There's not terrible pitching. There's not really good hitter sparks. I'll take Devers.
All right. With the top hitters duel is where I'm going to go, which is Mike Trout, 33% chance of hitting a home run today. Seems like a good enough bet there. So I'll go there. Chuck Deuces said Chunk the Deuce said, I finished Beef last night. Quality actor, solid script, and a fucked up ending. I thought it was a very, very entertaining show.
He also said he just started Barry. Good show. Enjoy it.
Yeah, Barry, another one that I haven't finished it, but I've gotten a few seasons in, I think, and really enjoyed it. Ritzgilla says, my taint hurts already, Ship. Yeah, so decided not to play Weaver, I guess. All right. Does anybody have any other questions? We've made it through the entire slate. We don't need to go a full hour here. We've talked about everything that I think needed to talk about here. We've got 7 games, kind of a pretty standard slate. No like really outliers from a like construction standpoint on a 7-gamer. I know that you are going to be back. I think you're back. Are you back tonight for the NBA show?
Yeah, 7:30.
Okay. I'm going to be on MLB Live Before Lock hosting once again, this time with Eric Lindquist. We got Greg out having some surgery. So I'm going to be on a show with Eric Lindquist. Or I don't know if it's a surgery. He posted it on Twitter. It's the only reason I'm saying it. Greg getting a colonoscopy. Is that a surgery or is it just I don't know what you call it exactly. But he's out today.
Invasive procedure.
Invasive procedure. Yeah, so that's a good description of it. So I'm going to be hosting with Eric on MLB Live Before Lock. Looking forward to seeing Eric once again. It's been a while since I've done a show with Eric. All right. Anything else? Anything else, Adam?
Nope.
Wow. Ray Ennis, imagine bashing the best TV show in history, top 5. These guys need to go outside more.
One, I don't really think those two things are related.
Yeah, not at all.
And 2, I don't think Seinfeld's a top 5 show in TV history.
It's definitely not a top 5 TV show in I guess now we are bashing it. People were like they were saying that we were bashing it when we were like mostly saying nice things about it, but like relative to apparently some people's opinions of Seinfeld, I mean, not there with
if you think Seinfeld's a top 5 TV show, I highly recommend learning what HBO is.
Right, exactly. All right. Well, on that note, that is going to do it for this show. I'll be back in half an hour, 40 minutes with Lofty. We're going to be doing an Underdog NBA show. Check that out if you're going to play some NBA today. And then, Adam and I both will be on shows. I'll be on MLB. He'll be on NBA tonight. So join us for those as well. Thank you guys very much for hanging out with us, and good luck tonight.